Corsair Sabre RGB Pro Wireless Opinion. The Corsair Sabre RGB Pro Wireless is available for $109.99. Pro. Excellent wireless performance. Flawless sensor performance. Ultra low click latency. Very high button quality. Good scroll wheel. Good choice of components. Fairly lightweight. Decent mouse feet. Grippy coating. Full software customizability. Basic RGB lighting. Bluetooth functionality. Contra. Resource heavy software. No wireless extender included. Stiff charging cable. A couple of years ago, Corsair released the Dark Core RGB Pro. While not a perfect release, Corsair's Slipstream Wireless performed remarkably well, on par with the likes of Logitech and Razer. Accordingly, I was quite stoked about the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless, as it promised to bring said wireless excellency to a more interesting mouse. And aside from a few minor shortcomings, the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless did not disappoint. As mentioned, among the greatest assets of the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless is its sensor and wireless performance. I am able to measure an isolated wireless motion delay of just 1 ms, which is doubly impressive given how the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless lacks a dedicated wireless extender. That said, while performance isn't hindered by that omission, I'd still prefer to see one included, as the dongle should not be plugged directly into a USB 3.x port, since that may cause interference. Considering that some main boards no longer even feature any non-USB 3.x ports, wireless performance of the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless may suffer. As even competitors within the $80 price range come with an extender included these days, I'm sure Corsair could have done the same on a $110 mouse. When it comes to sensor performance, the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless excels. No CPI deviation whatsoever, no smoothing across the entire CPI range, and all polling rates perfectly stable both in wired and wireless, 2.4 GHz mode. I'm actually not sure what the 3393 is based on, 3399 possibly, but performance is stellar no matter the connectivity. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same for the 2000 Hz polling promised by Corsair. I've had quite a few mice advertised as capable of 2000 Hz or even 3000 Hz for testing over the years, but the story is always the same: it's not real. Polling rates higher than 1000 Hz on a mouse are typically only possible on a high-speed device, which the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless is not. Upon closer inspection, one can see that the mouse simply sends the same report twice to fake readings, which becomes even more apparent in comparison with Corsair's own M65 RGB Ultra, which is a native 8000 Hz mouse. While I'd prefer Corsair not going the extra mile to simulate functionality that isn't there, performance at 1000 Hz is excellent to where even actual 2000 Hz wouldn't be needed. As for battery life, Corsair promises 60 hours without illumination, which I am unable to confirm or deny, unfortunately. The only sort of battery indicator to be found within Corsair Q is of strictly limited use, as it merely gives a verbal description, such as high, which makes for a nice guessing game, but not much more. To be sure, those 60 hours better be real, as the charging experience is somewhat underwhelming. Charging itself is quite slow and the cable pretty much as stiff as it gets, so playing while charging is pretty much not an option. Other manufacturers have long adapted flexible charging cables that barely limit one's ability to continue playing, so I don't see why Corsair wouldn't be able to do the same. In any case, Bluetooth is included, which is definitely a plus for when battery life is paramount. When it comes to build and button quality, the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless performs very similarly to its wired sibling, the Sabre RGB Pro. At 79 grams, the Sabre RGB Pro Wireless is fairly light given its huge size and lack of holes. As a result, build quality can be spotty. When applying pressure, the left side caves in rather easily, though actuating the side buttons that way is impossible, which is more important. My sample also has a mild rattle coming from somewhere, and when slamming the mouse down, The main buttons are actuated inadvertently. The latter behavior can be prevented by adjusting a setting within Q which enables debouncing and results in slightly higher click latency. That said, click latency is excellent on the Sabre RGB Pro wireless no matter what, so this is not even close to being a concern. In fact, with debouncing disabled, the Sabre RGB Pro wireless has the lowest click latency I've measured on mechanical switches thus far. Speaking of clicks, the main buttons deliver a very firm and snappy response, easy to actuate and with pleasant feedback. The same goes for the side buttons, while the scroll wheel isn't quite as good. Scrolling is fairly noisy, but tactility is fairly good, featuring clearly separated steps. Lastly, I have no complaints about the feet even though these definitely aren't 100% PTFE as Corsair claims. As always, Corsair's Q gets some flack from me for being such a massive piece of software. It worked quite well during testing, all the important options are there, but that's no reason for it to eat RAM and CPU time for breakfast. Setting everything up and uninstalling right after is a possibility, but running Q at least once is recommended to grab the most recent firmware and make some basic adjustments, such as enabling slam click prevention and lowering the sleep timer to a reasonable value. Onboard memory is present, but the majority of the lighting effects cannot be saved. Overall, the Sabre RGB Pro wireless does the important stuff well, and is a much needed option for large-handed users looking for a right-handed ergonomic shape large enough to fully palm. At $109.99, I think it is reasonably priced, though it's worth taking a look at the competition, which there is plenty of, as evidenced below. Accordingly, the Sabre RGB Pro wireless gets our recommended award from me. When looking at the rest of the right-handed ergonomic wireless competition, there is absolutely no shortage. Priced at $129.99, the Roccat Pro Air has no holes, yet only weighs 73 grams, has similarly great build quality and performance, but lacks a wireless extender and suffers from botched polling with RGB turned on. The Razer DeathAdder V2 Pro is also priced at $129.99, weighs a bit more at 87 grams, and its main buttons can be hit or miss, but the optical switches afford outstandingly low latency, sensor performance is stellar, polling stable, wireless delay just a tad worse, and a wireless extender is included. The Asus ROG Gladius 3 wireless weighs 89 grams. Allows for using either mechanical or optical main button switches, both of which shine with incredibly low latency, has excellent sensor and wireless performance provided the latest firmware is applied, and a wireless extender can be found in the box, but it is brought down by Armory Crate, which may only please masochists. The much smaller Asus ROG Keras wireless lacks a wireless extender, but too has hot swappable main button switches, great performance, an appreciably low weight at 79 grams, very low click latency, and very nice buttons and feet, but again comes with a non-negotiable Armory Crate burden, for $99.99. The glorious Model D wireless comes with a low weight of 69 grams, great sensor and wireless performance, very low click latency, and a wireless extender, for no more than $79.99. The Pulsar's Lite wireless performs even better than the Model D wireless, only weighs 59 grams, comes with a wireless extender, and displays surprisingly solid build quality, but lacks both a CPI button and traditional bottom plate, and just $74.95. Lastly, the Dream Machine's DM6 Holy Duo is the budget option, even featuring a wireless extender at a price point of $49.99, weighs 79 grams, but suffers from very high click latency, some motion delay, massive CPI deviation, and a coating that attracts finger marks almost magnetically.